So welcome to this video on the abstract data ADE-60 4x4 mix utility. Now this is a cascading mix and CV utility for audio or CV inputs, where we can have 2 times gain, actually double our inputs with amplification, which you don't see that often, but it's super useful. It can be an attenuverter instead of just an attenuator or amplifier. It can be an inverting amplifier, and we can add CV bias and CV generation when we're mixing or just taking these outputs. Now, a cascading series of outputs means that we could take 2 inputs, and if we just take the second output, the output of the first would cascade into the second. However, we can break that normalizing by patching into the output. So if we had 3 inputs and we came out of channel 2, that would give us channel 1 and 2 on 2 because it would cascade down. That would break the normalizing, and output 3 on channel 3 would just have its own channel. So it can be a 4-in, 1 output device, or 4-in to 4 output device, whereas each channel is individual. This is user configurable with jumpers on the back, and I'll pull up an image from the manual. We can set a jumper for the 2 times gain. We can set a jumper to turn these into attenuverting channels, meaning that their voltage or level is off at 12 o'clock, the mid-turn on that knob position, and it opens up to the right, but it will invert to the left. We can also use the gain with that, so that instead of just having, say, a channel that is off in the middle, fully open and fully inverted, it's 2 times its signal and minus 2 times its signal. So an inverting amplifier as well. We can add CV biasing, where we can put the jumper on so that these channels, if it's just set as a basic attenuator, will be 0 to 5 volts. Or if this is an attenuverter, -5, 0 in the middle, and +5. If these had their gain on, we would have 0 to 10 volts. And with an attenuverting channel with CV on, with amplification, we'd get -10 volts, 0 in the middle, +10 volts. Now I've set CV biasing to be on every single channel. We break that by simply plugging an input in. So with no input, this will be sweeping up a voltage that generates itself. Plugging in an input breaks that CV normalization. So for me, I might as well have it all on. I have my top channel as a basic attenuator, and then an attenuverter, and then I've swapped the knobs around, and abstract data actually give you 4 blue and 4 grey knobs, so you can make the layout suit your customized settings with the jumpers. My blue channels have 2 times gain, my grey channels don't. So an attenuator, an attenuverter, a 2 times amplifying attenuator, and a 2 times gain attenuverter. So with the CV, this is 0 to 5, -5 to 5, 0 to 10, and -10 to 10. So let's get into some patches to show off how useful this thing is. So for this first patch, let's use the ADE-60 as 4 simple attenuators or attenuverters, which is an inverting attenuator. So I have my envelopes running into channels 1, 2, and 3. These are porting across to this cable spaghetti with the ADE-50 triple VCA. Go check out that video, I'll link it below. And these are going to scale the envelope levels going into the VCA. So perfect if you're using a Unity style mixer, or just a mixer with no inputs. It's just going to sum everything together and you've no control of the outputs. So I can control the peak of my envelopes going into the VCAs and then sum these together. So first, let's check that out. Now the channels that are attenuverters make no difference to this VCA because the ADE-50 just has a CV input, there's no bias, no offset on the VCA itself. So a negative envelope isn't going to do anything, which we can rectify, which I'll show you how to do later in the video. But simple, 1 input to 1 VCA, channel 2 to the second channel, channel 3 to the third. And then because this is an attenuverter, I simply have it controlling my effects level. So super simple patch, very little to show. Volume of one envelope, or level of another, and level of some effects. Super simple, but very handy. And attenuators are needed in all sorts of places in your rack. So even for something this basic, having a few attenuators dotted around the system is well worth it. So as the ADE-60 can be a 4-stage mixer where every stage mixes to the one that has an actual output. So if I took my output from stage 2, the top 2 channels would mix. These would currently have their own output or mixed for 3 and 4 depending on what's going on. So I'm going to take my output from that 4th stage and get a mix of all 4 channels. I'm going to use the attenuversion and the 2x gain to create new waveforms from 4 waveforms, all from the same oscillator. So I have a sub saw wave, nice deep saw, a sine on that attenuator, an animated pulse, and a saw. Again, I can invert from ramp to saw and back. Taking the sub saw, we can add the ramp. Or can make use of that inversion. Having the animated pulses, we can add the sine, open up that kind of peak and trough between the top and bottom of those pulses, or we can invert it to bring them closer together. Take this waveform, adding the saw at the bottom, whether that's inverted to the left or normal, gives us a different looking and sounding wave. So it's great just as a 4-channel mixer. Again, like the attenuators, having lots of mixing both for audio and CV. Obviously this is just audio, but we could be mixing audio and CV together, or all CV or all audio. Having a few mixers like that around a system really helps get the best out of your other modules. So we've seen this as an attenuator, we've seen it as a mixer. Let's look at this as a CV bias, CV generating control. This will create CV offsets. Now I'm zoomed in slightly, but the 4 outputs are going to the 4 inputs on the Modax data. Channel 1 is green, channel 2 is blue, channel 3 is a kind of pinky purple, a little bit harder to see that one, and channel 4 is yellow. This is also going to indicate how I've customized my ADE-60 with the jumpers on the back. Now every one of these channels I've put the jumper on to generate CV. And we can cut this out by just plugging a cable in. It breaks the normalizer into CV generation and just functions as an attenuator or part of that mixer chain, whether we input audio or CV. My top channel simply generates CV and the jumpers are in the default position. There is no gain and there is no attenuversion. So this will create 0 to 5 volts. And each input is set to be 5 volts scaled. Each block on the Modax data is 5 volts. We can see that green line raises up. Now channel 2 is set to be an attenuverter, no additional gain. Again, it will generate CV, so this will go from -5 volts to the left, off in the center, +5 to the right. So I can take that up to the green, +5, and I can go lower. I can't take channel 1 any lower. The purple channel has 2x gain, but no attenuversion. So if this is 5 volts on channel 1, we can see this passes it, goes up to 10 volts. So I have 2 times gain without inversion on channel 3. And again, all of these have CV generation. Channel 4 has a 10U version and 2 times gain. So this will go from -10 to +10 volts. So channel 2 also inverts on mine, but this will go from 5 to +5. So we can see that we actually have this range of potential scaling. And I've put the 2 blue knobs on to indicate ×2 gain, grey knobs, normal gain. But I have an attenuator, an attenuverter that will invert, an attenuator, and now amplifier, because it's got 2 times gain, and an amplifying attenuverter. So for this final part of the video, I'm going to combine kind of everything that the ADE-60 can do across 3 channels. I still have a spare 4th channel, so a spare CV generator or a spare attenuator on its own. I'm coming out of channel 3, and my top channel I'm going to use to generate a 0 to 5 volt CV. So the CV jumper is on. They haven't changed throughout the video, so this is going to generate a CV offset bias. Just a positive CV. It doesn't have the attenuversion plugged in on the jumpers, and it doesn't have the 2 times gain either. This third output is going into a VCA. I have a sequence sending a gate to my envelope, pitched to an oscillator going into the VCA. And now, because this is offsetting, it's going to simply work as a volume control. The yellow line on data is just there to show the kind of 0 point. The green line is the output from the ADE-60. Channel 2 is set to be an attenuverter, and this is the envelope. So we can see coming up positive from 0. We could invert that. That's not going to do anything. We can't go any quieter than off, effectively, on the VCA. If I wanted to invert my envelope and still use it with the VCA, this is where this patch comes in handy. I can use the offset to open up the VCA first, where a positive envelope would open itself, but adding the offset and then inverting the envelope, we send in a voltage to open the VCA, and the envelope pulls back with a negative voltage. I have an LFO into channel 3. Let's turn that up. Now we can see it's bipolar, so you have positive voltages and negative voltages. But above that yellow line, this 0 point, these negative voltages aren't doing anything. So again, the offset becomes useful to use the full bipolar LFO to open and shut the VCA. So let's take all of this and offset that up. So again, just great way of controlling CV offset, inversion and amplification to control a VCA or anything else in the patch. We could take an envelope, and this just looks like a simple instant rise and fall. We could use the offset to add a kind of release and sustain period to let that VCA bleed the sound through. Could add a little bit of the LFO. And create a custom kind of hybrid mix of offset voltage, envelope and bipolar LFO, all kept above that 0 volts, all being functional for this patch. And that's the beauty of the ADE-60, its ability to do any of this, set on the jumpers what you want it to do, dot it around oscillators for audio, sequencers, envelopes, modulation for CV, use both. I've still got a spare attenuator or CV generator for anything. Really cool utility. Check out the ADE-50 triple VCA video and watch out for the ADE-51 attack, hold, decay, sustain, release voltage controlled envelope video coming a week after this video goes live. Go support me on Patreon if you'd like to see this video right away. They're getting it before everyone else, along with other exclusives that will stay exclusive to people on my Patreon page. Cheers for watching.